DateLine. Headline breaking news with snark that's on the FBI's 10 most wanted list. DateLine. California. We hate to start DateLine with such depressing news, but California Senator Barbara Boxer just announced that she will retire after this session of Congress is over. This is truly, truly sad news for America. Just kidding. Boxer, who has to be one of the most worthless leeches to ever serve in D.C., getting paid by the hard-working taxpayers of this country, is finally going to leave us alone.
Dynamite!
After 30 years in Washington, over 20 of those useless years in the Senate, she will be leaving a legacy of, well, a seat warmer. After 21 years in the upper chamber of Congress, she has one bill that she sponsored.
I don't believe that.
You heard me. California sent her to D.C. to improve their lives by looking out for their interests. And after 21 years, she sponsored the HIV Organ Policy Equity Act.
What?
And that earth-shattering piece of legislation passed. So I guess she was 1 for 1 in getting her bills passed, and she wanted to quit while she was ahead.
Oh, no.
It's not like she didn't have ample opportunity to help Californians in her 30 years of national public service. One of those opportunities was when, in the San Joaquin Valley in Central California, they got the water turned off from their fields because of the environmental lobby of the state legislature. She could have helped the mostly Latino population in this rich farming area. And if I said she did everything in her power to turn the water back on, the lifeline of this huge agricultural industry in the Central Valley, would I be right?
Right.
Wrong. Even when unemployment in that huge area rose to 50% because there was no water for the crops, just to protect a 2-inch fish called the Delta smelt, Boxer did absolutely nothing.
You disgust me.
To this day, that little fish is saved, and poverty is still almost as high as the unemployment rate in that area.
Well, I think it's outrageous.
But maybe, just maybe, Boxer had more important things to take care of while in D.C.
Okay.
We will explore California Senator Barbara Boxer's busy legislative agenda that kept her from helping the Central California residents later in DateLine. Stay tuned. DateLine. Saudi Arabia. The National Airlines of Saudi Arabia has issued new rules for its passengers. They will now separate men and women on their flights.
Well, I think it's outrageous.
Unless they are close relatives, men and women may not sit close to each other.
That is so much crap.
Complaints from men saying that other men were sitting too close to their wives, as well as other men complaining that the female flight attendants were being too flirty with them.
I think this one deserves the new and improved 2 snaps, a twist, and a kiss.
Now, Saudi Arabia has been at the forefront of worldwide misogyny behavior, but that has now seeped into non-Saudis, as anyone who flies on their airlines must be as much a chauvinist pig as them. Not only does the airline hire only non-Saudi women as flight attendants, but in this glorious country of tolerance,
Okay.
they not only arrest women for prostitution for just socializing with a non-family member male,
That is without a doubt the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
but they even make the women in their country enter and leave public places like restaurants and banks from separate entrances and exits.
This is ridiculous.
Get to the point.
Now you may be wondering why this story has made it to DateLine.
And I don't know the answer to that.
We here at the Ascend Conservatism Show want to hear the reaction from the National Organization for Women's response for these women's obvious oppression. Well, what about all those brainless Hollywood celebrities that propagated the phony war on women mantra in the run-up to the 2012 presidential election, like Scarlett Johansson, Natalie Portman, Kerry Washington, and Lena Dunham? What about those Democrats in Washington that fed the Hollywood Dunkoffs with the phony war on women talking point? How can it be that the left in the United States is so quiet when the real war on women is propagated by Muslims all around the world?
Anyone? 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 Anyone?
Could it be epic hypocrisy? DateLine, California, redo. While the unemployment in the San Joaquin Valley in Central California hit 50%, Barbara Boxer was just too busy to worry about the peons in poverty. She was put in charge of the cap-and-trade bill by President Obama, who wanted to pass a bill to fight global warming. And her plan was so disastrous that they dumped the ridiculous cap-and-trade, as well as dumping her.
Right on!
But she wasn't done when it came to global warming. When top scientists had their emails hacked and it was exposed that they had openly discussed the need for and methods of manipulating data to show climate change existed when it was a hoax, do you think Boxer went after those scientists for not only lying about climate change, but making money off government grants for studying a hoax?
Yes, yes.
No. She wanted to prosecute the whistleblowers.
It's a disturbing pattern.
She also wasted the people's time and money by trying to get the Ohio results of the 2004 election thrown out and hand the presidency to John Lurch Kerry, and her objection on the floor of the Senate got voted down. 74-1. Now, when you think about the taxpayers paying this useless senator for over 20 years, it's not that funny.
Okay.
And, as usual, her being a Democrat, she was also ethically challenged.
That's true.
She got into hot water in 2010 because she was caught omitting from her personal financial disclosure reports between 2002 and 2010 a home that she owned in Oakland worth more than $1 million.
Champagne wishes and caviar dreams.
While this was a clear violation of the Ethics in Government Act, the crookedest attorney general in the history of the United States, Eric Holder, swept it all under the rug, and Boxer was let to walk away scot-free of her crimes.
Outrageous! Outrageous!
Boxer also made news when on TV, whether it was when she ordered a general to call her senator instead of the appropriate and respectful ma'am.
You know, do me a favor. Could you say senator instead of ma'am?
Yes.
It's just a thing. I worked so hard to get that title.
And we all know she didn't earn that title, right?
Right.
And there was also the time where Barbara Boxer actually tried to play the race card against the black head of the Black Chamber of Commerce.
All that's condescending, and I don't like it. It's racial. I don't like it.
Excuse me,
I take offense to it.
Okay.
As an African American and a veteran of this country, I take offense to that. And for someone to tell me, an African American, college educated veteran of the United States Army, that I must contend with some other black group and put aside everything else in here, this has nothing to do with the NAACP and really has nothing to do with the National Black Chamber of Commerce. We're talking energy. And that road the chair went down, I think it's god-awful.
And she also showed on MSNBC one day on the Joe Scarborough Show, no matter what politician comes from Northern California, they're all dingbats.
I want to just say to CBO, whoever CBO may be.
That's the Congressional Budget Office.
You imbecile.
For a United States Senator not to even know what the Congressional Budget Office is, or the CBO, is ludicrous.
This is ridiculous.
Well, I thought it was ludicrous, but we'll go with ridiculous.
This is ridiculous.
But that isn't surprising for someone with such a pathetic legislative record. Every bill that someone in Congress writes has to be checked by the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office, so everyone knows what it will cost the taxpayer. Why would she know what that is when she sat on her duff for 20 years, collecting her paycheck of over $100,000 and wasting the country's time and money with moronic statements at hearings and on TV? America will be better off with this pathetic excuse of a lawmaker out of D.C. And when they say this about Washington, D.C.,
this town needs an enema.
Boxer epitomizes this. She is just one turd in a long line that is finally going where she belongs. DateLine.
Vacation, all I ever wanted. Vacation, had to get away.
I want all of our listeners out there to reach deep in your pockets. For that matter, all of America needs to take out that checkbook because it's time to pay the piper. It's time for every hard-working taxpayer to fit the bill for President Obama, his family, and their cronies' Christmas in Hawaii vacation.
Champagne wishes and caviar dreams.
While the most transparent administration in history...
This is the most transparent administration in history.
While the Obama administration refuses to disclose the entire cost of the vacation in the land of Aloha, Judicial Watch has released last year's flight costs for the Hawaiian Christmas vacation. Just for the flight expenses alone, which go for $210,877 an hour, at which it takes 36.9 hours a round trip from Washington, D.C. to Honolulu, comes to a whopping $7.78 million, billed to you and me.
Outrageous! Outrageous!
And remember, this is just the flight. This price tag doesn't include all the military equipment flown separately to protect the president, nor does it factor in the hotel costs, all over $200 a night for the plethora of Secret Service agents, Navy SEALs, and Coast Guard members, just to name a few, as well as the cost of an on-call ambulance 24/7 for their entire Hawaii vacation.
It's incredible.
Now let's compare the king,
It's good to be the king,
and Michelle Antoinette to some infinitely more classy presidents of the past.
Okay.
Ronald Reagan spent every single Christmas vacation of his 8 years in the White House in Washington, D.C., so the hundreds and hundreds of staff members, as well as the Secret Service, could spend Christmas with their families.
They think he's a righteous dude.
Besides that, Reagan told a reporter that the cost of flying everyone to California, which is about halfway to Hawaii, was too costly for the taxpayer to cover. And all this when he got the country's economy roaring with a GDP more often than not was over 5%. But being a truly classy president didn't stop at Reagan. George H.W. Bush spent all 4 of his Christmas vacations in D.C., as did his son. George W. Bush spent all 8 years of his presidential Christmases in Washington because he also wanted the people who work for him to spend the holidays with their families.
They think he's a righteous dude.
It says a lot about the class of this president. Not only does it show that the Obamas care more about their party time in Waikiki than the people who spend all year protecting their ungrateful butts, and they are blowing through our tax money all the while there are over 90 million people out of the workforce.
That's not presidential leadership.
Of course, liberals and the media try to excuse every selfish thing this president does. The left argues that he still receives his official briefings. But if, so far in his presidency, he has skipped over 60% of his daily intelligence briefings when in the White House, how many do you think he skips when he's in the island paradise playing golf?
4! Well, I yelled 4, you idiot. That's what 4 means.
What's more pathetic about these Obama apologists is that Barack Obama last called Hawaii his home when he left, when he was only 18 years old.
Hard to comprehend, but that's true.
Chicago is considered his real hometown, but you don't expect the king and queen of Mooch to spend Christmas in the snow, do you?
No.
So all you hard-working taxpayers out there, take out your wallets and say, aloha to your money.
Aloha, aloha.
DateLine. The American press is dead. With the latest Islamic terrorist attack in France, the mainstream media's response has taken an already discredited press from life support to the morgue.
I ate his liver with some fava beans and a nice Chianti.
While terrorist apologists at the major networks like NBC, using flaming liberal Nicholas Kristof, starts blaming Islamophobia.
Say what?
You heard me. Instead of reporting the fact that Islamic terrorism is on a rampage to wipe out the West, the sick and twisted liberal media tried to turn the perpetrators into victims. The once noble profession that had integrity has no more.
Shame on you.
But the lamestream media has been in decline for years now. Since the old media are 95% liberal, they lost their last wingnut with George W. Bush. The well-documented Bush derangement syndrome hit its heights when CNN complained and lamented that the unemployment rate in October of 2006 under Republican George W. Bush only fell to 4.5%.
Oh my God.
I know, right?
Right.
But recently the media has had help in degrading its independence and integrity. They have had help from a Gestapo-like Obama administration. When CBS reporter Cheryl Atkinson was investigating the president along with his disgraced Attorney General Eric Holder sending weapons to a Mexican drug cartel that has killed hundreds of innocent civilians on both sides of the Mexican-American border, she was attacked.
You disgust me.
Judicial Watch learned from documents obtained in a separate lawsuit last fall, both the DOJ and the White House targeted the former CBS correspondent.
A chill wind is blowing in this nation. A message is being sent through the White House. If you oppose this administration, there can and will be ramifications.
And where were her brothers and sisters in the media with their outrage over the infringement on the First Amendment, right to free press? The White House press corps, or shall I say the White House stenographers, didn't even contest this ridiculous statement by Press Secretary and paid liar Josh Ernst.
I think that there have been a number of situations in which you've seen this administration intervene in a meaningful way that has substantially furthered American interests and substantially improved the tranquility of the global community.
Quiet.
While the world is on fire and hundreds of thousands being slaughtered in the Middle East by ISIS, a group that was born from Obama's bug-out of Iraq, the press secretary calls it global tranquility.
You're a moron!
And as we come full circle to this week's tragedy in France, the Circling the Toilet Bowl network, CNN, had its star correspondent calling these Islamo-fascist killers that admitted that they had been trained by Al-Qaeda in Yemen. She called them activists.
That is so much crap.
You don't believe me? Take a listen.
On this day, these activists found their targets, and their targets were journalists. This was a clear attack on the freedom of expression, on press, and on satire.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard.
CNN's award-winning correspondent calling these scumbag terrorists activists. I think it's time that the American people call out these pathetic excuses for reporters, and maybe, just maybe, the old liberal biased media outlets can go under, one by one, and we will finally be left with truth in the press.
Amen, brother. Amen.
DateLine. Refund the fence. This is the first time here at DateLine we have reached out to our listeners in a call to arms. For those of you who follow me on social media, you know about my campaign to secure our southern borders.
Yes, yes.
Now, a lot of you out there may not know about the Secure Fence Act of 2006, and many of you have reached out to me and complained that President Obama and the Democrats do not want to secure the borders and that they will do anything it takes to stop the building of a border fence. Some also say that Obama will veto any attempt to stop the thousands upon thousands of new Democrat voters, I mean immigrants, crossing our porous borders, per his invitation, I might add. And you all are right to be wary of the most destructive president this country has ever seen.
Absolutely, positively, unequivocally.
But
I like big butts and I cannot lie.
The best part about the Refund the Fence campaign is that the president is powerless to stop it. The only thing that the president can do about the building of the secure fence is to react as he always does when he doesn't get his way. But the fact of the matter is, the Secure Fence Act of 2006 is the law of the land. Period.
That's the fact, yeah!
When the Republicans held the House and Senate in 2006, as they do once again today, they passed the Secure Fence Act by an overwhelming margin, with many Democrats voting for it. The bill passed the House 283 to 138, and in the Senate a whopping 80 to 19.
Wow.
Unfortunately, the Democrats won the House and Senate just 2 months later, and 2 months after that, when they took control of both chambers of Congress, they defunded the law of the land that most of them had just voted for.
Say what?
Yes, the hypocrisy doesn't escape me either. The Democrats had zero problem defunding this hugely bipartisan bill, but were aghast at the Republicans trying to defund the Obamacare boondoggle that passed by one vote and was 100% partisan, and as it turned out, was filled with
lies.
But I digress.
Get to the point.
Okay. So even though the president does not want a secure border, he cannot veto a law that's already on the books. All the GOP has to do is appropriate funds, and it will get built, and as the rest of the bill states, there will be more border agents, and it also authorizes more vehicle barriers, checkpoints, and lighting, as well as authorizes the increase of the use of advanced technology like cameras, satellites, and unmanned aerial vehicles to reinforce the infrastructure at the border. Now, some of my libertarian friends don't trust the current GOP to do this, as many say that the establishment wants a porous border as well.
Right.
Well, this campaign will either really secure the border, or it will expose the current lot of GOP elites as nothing but Democrat light.
Boo! You suck!
If that turns out to be the case, I will be right back here on DateLine with another call to arms to throw the bums out no matter what party they belong to.
Excellent!
So my people, if you want a secure border that will not only stop illegal immigration but any Islamic terrorists coming in this country to do us harm, call, fax, tweet, post on Facebook, Instagram, and all the other social media outlets for your congressmen, congresswomen, and senators to refund fund the fence now.
Let's go!
DateLine. Bitch slap of the week. What some might call the most satisfying part of DateLine is here.
Dynamite!
This is where we administer instant justice. No media disinformation, no liberal spin, facts presented, and retribution given. This week's winner of the Bitch Slap of the Week, Speaker of the House, John Boehner.
You suck, you jackass.
In what can only be described as the GOP morphing into the Democrat Party, last week, supposed Republican, Speaker Boehner stooped so low that it made the despicable Obama advisor Valerie Jarrett blush as he flattered her by imitating her vile, vengeful, payback thug style.
You disgust me.
After becoming the first Speaker of the House in the history of the United States to pass a lame duck budget just 1 month before his party was to gain control of both House and Senate, he was opposed for re-election as Speaker.
Right on!
Conservatives in the House who didn't take lightly to being lied to,
Come on, what's the matter with you?
betrayed, and forced to vote for a bill that they didn't have time to read, a la dingbat Nancy Pelosi.
But we have to pass the bill so that you can find out what is in it.
Quiet.
These brave conservatives in the House opposed the turncoat Boehner and wanted a real Republican as Speaker of the House. A speaker for the people. And what was their reward for voting against the traitor to Republican principles? For exercising their freedom of speech? The petty boner, a la Jarrett, vengefully removed them from committee posts.
Outrageous! Outrageous!
Removed for opposing a speaker that ran in 2014 on repealing Obamacare, but as soon as the ballots were counted, Boehner funded Obamacare for a whole entire year.
Come on, what's the matter with you?
And he did it when he didn't even have to. Not only did he not consult with fellow Republicans on the Cromnibus bill, but he went to the losers of the 2014 election, Pelosi, Steny Hoyer, Harry Reid, and Barack Obama.
Say what?
Yes, the same president that will be the only two-term president in modern-day history to never pass his own budget.
Hello.
Not only that, Obama set the all-time record in budget epic fail votes when his fiscal 2013 budget got voted down 513 to 0. After campaigning on reining in Obama and his runaway spending, Boehner runs to this loser to make a budget deal. That deserves more than a bitch slap. That deserves an ass whooping.
Right.
Where's Adrian Peterson and his switch?
Oh, no. Come on now, baby.
Okay, my bad.
Okay.
But the Democrat sympathizer Boehner does get a good roughing up for stabbing America in the back. Tonight we have a first here on DateLine. Boehner has become the first Republican to ever win the bitch slap of the week.
Wow.
Or has he?
Say what?
With his actions after profiting from the conservative grassroots vote in November and immediately betraying them just 1 month later, most intelligent Republicans don't even consider Boehner as a Republican anymore.
That's the fact, Jack!
Speaker of the House John Boehner has acted just like a slimy Democrat. So Boehner is now not only a man without true convictions, he's a man with no moral compass, and he is no longer a Republican leader.
That's a fact, Jack!
And that's DateLine. for this day, January 12th, 2015.